Welcome to the Pigskin Party Podcast, the only podcast that combines real NFL analysis with a splash of pop culture and a dash of the random. Let's get this Pigskin Party started with your hosts, Brian McFadden and Will Southard.
Welcome back to the PPP. It's time for the flavor of the week. My name is Brian. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you're listening. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and leave us your comments below. We're coming off quite a lively conversation. If you happen to be listening straight through from the NFL episode, first of all, thank you so much for sticking around for both episodes. But you'll know that it ended with a little, we'll call it a little heated, and we are bringing back the same guest. But as always, we'll start by bringing in my co-host, Mr. Will Southard, who, because he's in a hotel room, doesn't get to wear a goofy hat this week. But Will, how triggered are you? Are you calm now? Are you ready to?
Listen. All my signed Tim Tebow memorabilia at home is doing just fine. And the only reason it got heated was because we started talking about Tim Tebow. And let's be honest, when you look at that man, you just get a little warm.
Although I will say one thing, Tebow used to be prominently displayed on the back of your wall in your home, and now it's been thrown off and Antonio Brown's up instead.
It's not signed. It's not signed. It is the national championship jersey, though. It is the national championship.
Well, apparently you didn't care enough about it to keep it on your wall because it was like thrown over the counter last time. So let's bring in the anti-Tebow, Miss Lindsay Bebout, who is the co-host of the Broncos Brawl podcast. As I mentioned, definitely check that out. Lindsay, are you still feeling triggered with the recent discussion?
I'm just a very anxious person in general. I'm anxious.
I appreciate your honesty. Tell me this though.
I'm like trying to calm myself down.
Don't interrupt.
No, hang on. No, wait. I'm gonna interrupt real quick. I just want her to admit one thing. If in some world you and Tim Tebow got married, tell me that you would not have to hyphenate your last name. That would be the best hyphenated last name in all time.
My old ESPN login was Bebo Tebow.
How good is that?
You understand? I was
okay. So anybody who just tunes in for the flavor of the week, I apologize.
When you have
no
baby,
idea.
When you have a baby, you'd have to name it Debo. It would be Tebow, Bebo. I can't even say that without laughing.
What? Yeah. Real quick, so we Tim Tebow. If you just tune in for the flavor of the week, you don't care about football, which thanks for checking this out. This is just a carryover of the end of the conversation from the NFL episode. So I'm gonna take you guys back down a level. Let's bring in Neal because we do have two guests on this week.
Yay, Neal!
There we go.
Yay!
Give it up for Neal. Neal with the awesome last name, Neal Thrailkill. How are you feeling?
It's not as good as name as Debo Tebow Bebo. I'm just telling you.
I don't get to choose my name, but no, I feel good. I mean, it was awesome hearing this passionate discussion. That's what I love about sports, the passion that goes into it. You did forget to mention my podcast is the Two Tight Ends
Yes,
podcast.
Thank you. Check that out.
Go
check it out,
Is that
please.
a reference to you and your co-host? Or like, where did you get the name?
It's a double entendre.
Explain.
We just wanted a funny name.
Okay.
And there's two guys, and we're just I think this is our podcast description on Anchor. We're just a couple of buddies looking for some fun,
Wow, that's what my Tinder. That's what my Tinder profile says. Just some buddies looking for some.
Not Grindr
or just. Look at that! Throwing it back at Will. Listen. I love it. I'm not going to let him retort. We're going to move it on because if
I am so passionate.
If
about
ever there was an episode where we needed a palate cleanser, it would be this one right here. So. Deep breaths. Oh, I just knocked over my Dan Marino. See, this is the kind of episode we have. Now Dan Marino's on the ground. All right. So, as a reminder, every episode, when we start our Flavor of the Week episode, anybody who did happen to listen to that crazy, passionate discussion in the NFL and then goes right into the Flavor of the Week, we want to give you a little bit of a break. We want to have you just take a deep breath and have a palate cleanser. We're gonna cleanse your palate. We're gonna give you a cleanse, and I think this group certainly needs a cleanse right now. So before we get into our main topic this week, we're gonna talk about The Office and Parks and Recreation. So here's why I chose this topic. First of all, as I mentioned, I do listen to Lindsay's podcast. I know that she's a big fan of those shows, Parks and Rec in particular. But I'm somebody who I loved The Office. I watched it I was in for Jim and Pam. I was the whole thing. They used to air them after the Super Bowls when NBC had the Super Bowl. I loved those, all of that. I was a huge Office fan. So naturally, when Parks and Recreation started, I was like, oh, great, I can keep. And it just didn't catch me. It just didn't get me the same way, and I gave up. I don't even think I made it through the first whole season. So that's why we're using this as a topic. And I'm actually going to start with Neal, because I want Lindsay to to take a deep breath, and Will, we know, is already partially triggered as well. So, Neal, what are your thoughts on The Office, Parks and Rec? Did you watch both? What are your thoughts on them as a whole?
So, I'm actually huge fans of both of the shows.
Woo!
I love both of them, and I think because did you start watching the Parks and Rec like right when it was released, right after you kind of finished The Office? I think that it could be either detrimental to some people or good to some people, because if you go in there, because it's
real quick, if you're not watching the YouTube, Lindsay is just shaking her head and swinging her fingers and
yes, like I'm agreement.
Yeah, okay, Neal, continue.
I think it's in the same sort of style, mockumentary styles, kind of. So there's a lot of comparisons, but I think Lindsay would agree, you got to get past the first season, which is what I tell people who haven't watched The Office either, is you got to get past the first season. If it doesn't catch on, because it definitely gets better. But I think the comparisons are fair, but I think also you got to try to pull out The Office when you're watching Parks and Rec, because they are pretty different. They are.
I think,
but
you got to compare the key characters, right? So let me say some things, and you guys can agree or disagree with me. I'll make a hot take.
I'll disagree.
Of course you will. Listen, I'll make a hot take. Dwight Schrute is a more iconic character for The Office than Michael Scott.
Yeah, I would. Okay, agree.
I would say Dwight Schrute.
I would disagree, but go ahead. Sorry, no,
iconic, sure, but like better character. I think Dwight Schrute is great, but Ron Swanson is probably one of the top 5 TV characters in all of TV history. Like Nick Offerman was perfect, and like he nailed that caricature role of like the super like anti government guy, like who works for the government, like asking for the vegan vegetarian bacon and then throwing it in the garbage and asking for another so that no one has to ever eat this. Like that character, I think when you like take the best of the best and you put them head to head.
Or when he orders, I want all the bacon and eggs.
He goes, no, you heard me wrong. Exactly. I think when you compare like the overall, I would say Office is probably like more widely accepted and known throughout the country. But I think Parks and Rec has a more cult, like bigger, crazier, like niche following. And I think the characters in Parks and Rec were like the peaks and valleys were much higher. There was just a lot more color and a lot more like uniqueness to that show.
It's got Star-Lord in it. I remember that. It's got Star-Lord.
Everyone.
No, I agree with everything you just said. I agree with every single thing you just said. Brian, when you said I couldn't get through the first season, I was like yanking out my hair because
she literally did. For you, those of you who can't see.
Just like no, literally. The Office, I think the first season is absolute garbage as well. With Parks and Rec, too. So you have The Office that was trying to copy the British version. They realized, oh, this doesn't work. Well, Parks and Rec what they did is they tried to make Leslie Knope Michael Scott, and then realized after the first season, oh,
they dialed her down way back. They dialed her way back.
Well, what they did is they made her. So what they tried to do is make her, like goofy and I don't want to say dumb, but that that Michael Scott type, and instead made her this like hilarious type A, there's an episode where the assistant accidentally schedules 94 meetings and Ron Swanson's like, is this a joke? And Leslie goes, are you sure we don't want to just do 6 more to make it an even 100? Like that was the way to go with her character, and they quickly learned that. So if anyone's listening and you've never watched Parks and Rec, think about the first season of The Office and then what it became, and that's what happened with Parks and Rec. For me, I'm obsessed with both. Yeah, I'm obsessed with both. But for me, when I want to feel optimistic, especially right now where like politics in this country is just a nightmare, there's just an optimism to Parks and Rec that makes you feel like everything's going to be okay. There are good people in this world that are, working hard for everybody, and it gives you the feels. Whereas with The Office, when I just want to laugh and laugh at stupidity and laugh at ridiculousness, that's what I want.
I mean,
so it really
you have all of the
good for
characters
the
of The
2 minutes.
Office are kind of like variations on a theme, right? They're all office workers
Yep.
that they're either like, Dwight-ish, or they're who's the Angela, the angry, or they're weird,
Yeah.
right? And they're just variations on a theme. But you look at Parks and Rec, right? You got like Aziz playing like whatever that Tom Haverford role is. You got
kind of like a wannabe.
I mean,
Jay-Z.
and like, but had
huge
like
wannabe,
he had like
Yeah.
a humanity to him, right? You got John Ralphio,
Yeah.
John Ralphio's sister. Like Brian, dude, you need to go back. Like, you need to go past season
Okay.
1, and you will go. I got this.
Or just
I got
skip
this
Just
season
start.
one.
So I'll just
Screw
start
it.
season 2. Just like
skip it.
show, I got this show totally
no,
wrong.
they. Yeah, well, it's kind of like the Dundies. I think could be a pilot. I think it explains all the characters well. I think it actually, you know what? It doesn't, because eventually those side characters become bigger parts, and that also happens in Parks and Rec. But like, it could be a pilot. You wouldn't even need the first season, and that's how Parks and Rec is. I think the Penguin Wedding episode, 100% could be a pilot episode.
That's a
I
good
also
one.
just wanted to show you guys some quick stuff. So I have on my wall. If you, this is why you guys need to watch the
Yeah,
YouTube.
you only get the good stuff
So
on
I have
YouTube.
on my wall the Pawnee Goddess, the what's it called? The chant.
Wow.
I have a picture that says, "Be the Leslie Knope of whatever you do." And my personal favorite, if I had a stripper's name, it would be Equality.
Wow.
Those are all on my bedroom wall.
If we're showing stuff, hold on, I gotta get
Like,
something.
look at this is the show and like.
This is gonna turn into show and tell,
Our,
yeah.
audio, our audio show
No.
is the show and tell show, which is so good.
Yeah.
All right.
no, but we can explain these. I could say those on air.
So for my birthday, my sister got me Nick Offerman's memoir,
That's awesome.
and not only that, she got I don't know how, she got him to sign it. And
That's a good
he
sister.
doesn't sign to people; he signs to things he loves. So he signed to Oak Nick Offerman because he loves Oak.
That's awesome.
Nice. That's cool.
And the crazy thing about this, we were living in Idaho at the time. I don't know how she got him to sign this. Like, why would he come to Idaho?
Maybe there's lots of oak in Idaho. I mean,
You know what I have
Probably,
signed?
yeah.
I have a copy of
So-
Tebow's autobiography that's signed.
did you? You, just,
Oh, I have that, and I
you
gave
couldn't let
away.
it go. You just had to throw it back in there.
No, but Brian, I want you to do a follow-up show. Actually, do you have Peacock?
Yes.
I was gonna say you could use my login.
Oh, thank you. I got it
yeah.
because my son. We wanted to introduce Harry Potter to my son, and it was only on Peacock. So yes, we actually have
Oh,
Peacock.
Please. I want you to do like a follow-up.
So wait,
where you talk about whether or not, and even I will say though, even if you don't like season 2, season 3 is when things like
Okay.
really
So wait.
take off. Season 2 is good, but 3 is where
I
it
feel
finds
like
its
we
Okay.
have collectively,
Okay, I'm
except for
done.
Brian, who's speaking from a position of ignorance, have all unanimously agreed that Park and Rec edges out Office in terms of goodness.
No, I do not agree.
Why not? Why not?
Ooh.
I think The Office is funnier. I think The Office has a longer, funnier run. Even after Michael leaves, which it gets bad, okay, after Michael leaves. I will admit that. I just think it's funnier. Plus, to Lindsay's point, okay, she was kind of talking about how, if she wants something feel good, she'll probably put on the Parks and Rec, right? So I'm more of the type of person that I don't like the feel good, right? I'd rather go the
Show me
other
the
way.
misery.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think the cringe, The Office does a lot more cringe stuff, a lot more cringe humor. I like that. And like, I mean, for example, one of my favorite shows also is It's Always Sunny, and they're the worst people
I
I
on
have
love
there.
that.
never
you know?
wait.
So-
I have
Yeah.
never watched that. Do I need to like fix my
Okay.
life?
All right.
Brian, Willie, you would love that. Oh my gosh.
It's
Will, you would love
hilarious,
that.
but they are honestly the worst people. I have some friends that are like, yeah, I love the show, but I can't watch more than like 3 episodes in a row because I feel so terrible.
So I'm going to call an audible because I would love to talk about this. Go.
go about
It's Always Sunny. Let's talk about It's Always Sunny.
versus that. I think I think it's like I said, the dark humor. It's a lot more dark. I think it's TVMA.
Wait, would you
can
say
get away
here's
with
a
more
show that I
stuff.
really like? I actually put this as one of the best shows of all time. Shameless. Like, are we talking the same kind of
like
humor,
Shameless.
or are we talking
No.
Have you not seen It's Always Sunny? Will?
No.
Have you not seen the show?
No.
Wow.
hasn't.
So-
That
You would
be
like
right
that
up
show,
your alley,
Will.
right?
That is
All
right
right,
up
you
your
would
alley.
love
All right,
that
fine.
show.
They
So
are
it's
horrible
always-
human
it's all-
beings, but it's hilarious.
Horrible. It's the only show I know where the characters get worse. Like every other show, there's character
Right.
growth.
It's
Their
Danny
character
DeVito,
regression.
right? I know Danny DeVito's
Regression.
in it, I think.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so
You
It's
see
Always
the
Sunny
beginning,
is just a bunch of narcissists trying to get through life, and it gets worse and worse and worse for
It's got
everybody.
who's the actor
But
from
they're
Horrible
all-
Bosses?
Charlie Day.
Yeah.
He
and-
writes for it too.
Yeah. Well, and part of what's so funny about Parks and Rec is that Tammy too and Ron, they're like mortal enemies, but they're married in real life. Everyone on It's Always Sunny is married to each other.
Yeah.
So like two of the main characters, so Dee and Mac. So Mac constantly calls her a bird. That is his wife.
Yeah, they
Tell me
all
that
do.
she looks like a bird. That's who he is married to.
They
There's
all-
another character, Charlie, who's obsessed with this woman that they just call the waitress.
The
Who
waitress.
is repulsed by him. They are also married in real life, and like I guess it doesn't have anything to do with the show, but it makes it
It's pretty
funnier
funny.
to watch knowing that.
It's pretty funny when they berate each other, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, they're married
Right.
actually."
Yeah.
Also, the whole story arc of the priest, what's his name? I'm blanking on it. Rickety Cricket.
Oh yeah.
With the whole story
That's
arc of this
depressing.
character who comes into, and he starts out as a priest, and now he's a street rat who's half burned victim, and like he's just and it's all because it's all the gang's fault, like his situation.
That sounds good.
Yeah, that's a good show. That is.
You would
a
love
funny
it's
one.
on Hulu.
And it gets, and I mean, kind of. I still like the first season, but like Danny DeVito doesn't show up till the
Yeah.
second season,
Yeah.
and that's kind of when they get their wheels under them and everything. And because Danny DeVito, he comes in as their dad, well, two of the characters' dad. He's got a lot of money, so he can fund a lot of these crazy stuff, and he just wants to be part of this gang. And that's when it really starts picking up.
And I think it's cool too. The show actually just got renewed, I think, for 4 more
Wow.
seasons.
Yeah, they're about to release 15th, right? The
Wow.
Yeah,
15th
and I
season.
think they just got renewed.
See
though for
that's
an
kind of
additional
almost
4.
intimidating.
And
Like
it's-
I want bites. Like I feel this way about
don't-
video games in my
you
old
don't have
life.
to watch them all to understand it.
I will say I've never watched a full season, but you can watch an individual episode and it'll be so
Yeah.
enjoyable and funny. You don't have to know what's going on. You don't have to know the characters.
Yeah, there's a few inside jokes here and there that you might not get, or that was episodic maybe from the earlier season, but for the most part, you
Fair
can
enough.
watch it.
All right, so Will, I have my homework to start with season 2 of Parks and Rec.
I can't wait to talk to you about this, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
And I will revisit it on a future Flavor of the Week show. Will, you have your homework. Check out It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and then we will find a way to tie this into a future Flavor of the Week episode. So that was like a double cleanse, and I think we needed it after the way the NFL episode talked. So,
Oh, I had already forgotten about that. Now you're.
well, no, but
reminding me.
we're cleansed though, so we're okay. Hopefully, Neil, are you
Well, Will and I
Neil? Are
agreed,
you
so now we're on the
cleansed?
same
Are you
page.
feeling good?
I'm
Awesome.
good. I'm
Lindsay,
good.
are you cleansed? You ready to keep going? Okay, and Will, you definitely need a cleanse. How you feeling?
I feel good, buddy.
You look like you're not even paying attention to us
I
right now.
am
You're like
absolutely
surfing porn on the internet.
I am absolutely paying attention.
All right, so
I'm searching
our pal-
Lindsay's love affair with Tim Tebow on social media.
all right, no more. I almost would rather hear about Brady than Tebow at this point, and that's saying something.
You know they
So,
played on the same team
let's-
for a while.
the
going.
the,
Keep going.
the evil team. Okay, so let's go on to our main topic. This is going to be a really, really weird change based on what we've been talking about. But the
Let's not overreact.
oh god,
Yeah, get it.
yeah.
Good.
I'm gonna get in trouble for that.
So
one.
and this is this is like National Women's History Month, and maybe we should we should just mute Will for the rest of the episode.
Mill.
So here.
Is that true? I did not know.
What's
Yes,
that?
March is Women's
is.
History Month.
I didn't know.
I think it's a recent thing, but I think it's a great thing to be able to spotlight.
Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons that I picked this as the main topic, and the other reason being is that obviously, Lindsay, you mentioned this on your podcast recently, but you were also featured in this article. What was the author's name first? I don't want to say it incorrectly. That wrote the article in Predominantly Orange.
So it was Shelby Manning, but she also worked with somebody named Nicholas Manning, and crazy enough, they're not married.
Oh, okay. Interestingly enough,
no
just
relation.
Was the article
And they're
about?
and they're both
Broncos
Broncos
fans,
fans.
Was it about Peyton Manning?
No, I know.
So-
So basically,
Go ahead, Lindsay.
Shelby reached out to some of us, just a couple of girls.
So
like I
first,
said,
tell
Broncos Twitter.
everybody who Shelby is. Like,
Oh, yeah. So Shelby Manning is a writer for a website called Predominantly Orange. Again, I didn't even know that stuff like this existed until a couple months ago, and I'm like still blown away about how much like material there is. I don't know how it is for other teams, but just like for one team, it's wild. So she works a full-time job, but she does this on the side, and she reached out to me and a couple other girls through Twitter, and she wrote an article about what it's like to be a female sports fan, or, you know, in my case, a co-host of a podcast, and kind of the ups and lows about what that's like. And we all had different stories, and she also, it wasn't just that, but also asked like where our fandom came from.
Well, let me ask you. We had
Is it-
Samantha Bunton on the show. Like, when was that? Last week?
I know,
Was
I
it
listened.
2 weeks ago? Last
2
week?
weeks ago.
And
2
she
weeks ago.
said one of the things
Yeah.
about being a female in the sports world is that you randomly get quizzed by dudes all the time. Is that true?
Yes, that, and you get really weird DMs.
Well, I mean, that's a
I
different
think
thing.
DMs.
That's a
That
different
happens
thing.
whether you're in sports or not. That's but
That's why she's
I
so
thought
mad
they
as
used to
Tim
get-
Tebow DM'd her an unsolicited picture of his baseball bat.
uh,
It was not from the minor leagues.
Well,
you know
I-
what I'm saying?
he's compensating for something. I'm pretty sure it was a minor league baseball bat. Anyway,
There it
It was
is.
a farm
There it is.
system bat. Lindsay, I actually had a question. Do you think
Hear it.
that it's not too dissimilar, like your experience or women's experience in in being sports fans, to women like gamers? Do you think there's any correlation there?
So let's see, because I do have some. So I'm not a gamer unless you want to play Monopoly.
That's not
Love
a
Monopoly.
I
game.
do have friends.
That's just a bad time waiting to
No,
happen.
that's what I'm saying. I'm not a gamer.
oh, don't! I will not let you trash Monopoly on this podcast.
There is no,
I have it on my phone.
game of Monopoly that doesn't end with somebody smacking the board and saying "F this" and walking off angry.
Who do you
That's
play
why
Monopoly
play it
with?
on your phone. That's why you played the digital
Right.
version. Because like
There
when
you go.
quarantine happened, me and my friends were playing every day. Anywho, so like I said, I can't speak on my behalf, but I can speak on my friends, and I would say definitely. I would say though, I think women in gaming, it's an even smaller margin, so I think they have it even worse. I think they get
Yeah.
way creepier messages, and they get way more.
Well, gaming is a
Yes,
platform
yeah.
that's like oriented towards the socially awkward, right? And the people that don't
Yeah,
have to deal with
yeah.
consequences. So like, you're more.
Right,
you're more.
just trashing gamers. We have
I
listeners who are
am a
gamers.
gamer. I am a gamer,
you are.
bro.
That's true. You
That's
are a
what-
gamer.
That's
Good
what I'm
point.
saying, and like I think that could be possibly be a reason is they don't really have the same kind of filter. Whereas in sports, I mean, it's more of you're with people. There's a little more face to face. There's more social consequences. So it's not good by any means, but
Yeah. Well, then I guess Neal, are you a gamer too?
I am, yeah.
So then what's your
So it sounded-
interactions or what's your perspective on that?
So it sounds, from a male's perspective, it sounds like it is to me, it does seem like they're very similar, but I think Will brought up a good point. I think gamers have the slight edge that it's a little worse for the gamer girls than it is, just because I was going to bring up the same thing that, like, I feel like these socially awkward, it kind of it festers there. There's more socially awkward people there. And that's no means a pass for the sports fans world.
you can be 12 and be in a COD lobby. You can't be 12 and be at a bar like talking sports. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think I that's the first thing that came to mind is when you were talking about it. I'm like, I think that's very similar is these male dominated industries and these women that often get flocked to, but not usually in a good way.
And that's the underlying theme here. Whether one is worse than the other is not really the point. It's the point that they're held to
Right.
different standards. They're paid attention to for different reasons. They're not given the same type of credence or credibility that somebody doing the exact same thing but as a male. And I think that's what Samantha was getting on when Samantha was on, that she said that guys would just come up to her and just, she's an NFL analyst for NBC Sports, and they would come up and try to test her NFL knowledge. Like, how often do you see that? You're not going to go up to your male colleague who works at NBC Sports, who also works in football, and say, "Do you know what happened in the 1972 Super Bowl with 3 minutes and 7?" Like, it's
I mean,
really,
I don't
really
even know it's
obscure
that kind
stuff.
of. It's probably like, do you know how many points of safety is worth? Like, you know what I
No,
mean?
well, it's probably both.
I mean, I have gotten some weird.
It's probably both. It's probably the men who
like that.
just have really condescending questions, and then it's the other men that want to prove that the women don't know anything. And this is what Samantha said, that the questions are really obscure and like probably to where they don't even know, but they just want to like take the woman down a peg or two with a question that most people wouldn't know unless you're like an NFL historian.
Yeah, and I will say I think it's gotten better. And obviously, look, she's has a much bigger platform. If you ever listen to my show, I think it's a little bit more comedy based, and it's definitely less professional. Like, I don't do that for a living. My whole world isn't constantly, football and researching and all of that. So I'm definitely at a different, place than she is. I will say I think it's gotten better. Especially as people like Samantha or Samantha Ponder, who I worship. When she called out Barstool, I was like, I don't care if you're gonna take wrong for the rest of your life. You have my heart. You have my support. You go, girl. So I do think that it's improving. I think though, the creepiness is what's getting worse. I think it's like, oh, okay, I guess women do kind of know what they're talking about. Well, now I'm going to be creepy towards them.
I mean,
I think, and if you allow me to get a little personal here,
please.
I'm a big basketball fan, and if I see an attractive female who can play basketball well, I'm a little attracted to that, right? But it's when you take it to a creepy level, you send them creepy messages and stuff like that, and I think that happens a lot. Or I think the other side, the other side, but another.
By the way, Will finds himself attracted to Tom Brady and sends him creepy stuff too.
That's different. That's different. Are you
gotta get past his kid first, though.
Are you talking about analysts, or are you talking about like WNBA players?
No, I'm just talking about like just players in general, or an analyst. I think is in a similar situation because they have this knowledge. They're in the world still. I think it's valid either way. Yeah. But I think the other way is that some males are also intimidated by this, so they have to prove their knowledge by asking them the questions like, oh, well, no woman would know this. Well,
right, exactly. They're afraid that a woman's going to know more than them, so they'll ask them a question that that even if they were very knowledgeable, they wouldn't know just for their own ego.
Yeah,
I do.
And I think they take it too.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, Will, go ahead. I was just gonna say I think they might take it too far because if they feel themselves too very knowledgeable, then I feel like a lot of aspects in life, people will kind of like test their own knowledge. And sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. So
I'd say
Will, go ahead.
I unfortunately I have an NFL world analyst like Woman Crush Wednesday for myself, and I hate to admit it, but I kind of do, and it's Cynthia Freeland. Mm-hmm. The data.
Oh yeah,
you were saying you had a crush on
nice. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network.
On yourself. Yeah. No, not like that. But like she very data driven statistician. Very math.
She's a mathematician who works for the NFL. Yeah.
Yeah, but
NFL Network.
That is my I can never tell her she's my woman crush Wednesday, but she's my woman crush every day.
Why don't you reach out to her on Twitter? I'm sure
no, because that's creepy. I'm not going to do that.
You're right. You're right. And you know what? That's the difference. Exactly. That is the difference. Neal saying that a woman analyst or athlete is attractive because they're doing that. That's one thing, but to actually reach out and send creepy DMs and all that, that's the action.
He's just got a thing for basketball shorts. Let's be honest.
Hey, not bad.
Well,
guys or girls? No.
I've gotten some weird messages. Like I've had one guy recently send me, "Hey, babe." Like, I don't.
So wait, so Lindsay, let me ask you this. You know what's funny about the NFL is Sierra asked me the other day. She cannot believe my wife.
Who that is.
His daughter. Oh, your wife. Yeah.
Yeah. She cannot believe that the quarterback's hands. Like I was trying to explain to her football, and she's like, "How do they know when to hike the ball?" And I was like, "Well, there's the audio, but like you've also got the quarterback's hand placement in the other guy's taint." And she's like, "They don't actually touch, do they?" And I'm like, "No, the fingers literally like tap the taint of the dude in front." And she's like, "That doesn't happen. You're screwing me." And I'm like, "No, I just like." She's like, "They allow this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's standard practice."
Tom Brady schooled Ryan Jensen on how to properly, keep the
out of baby powder.
Apparently, that happens a lot.
I think that's why that's one of the barriers to women playing football. You can't have a woman center and a man quarterback. It would just be weird.
How did we go there? How are we no?
Yeah.
That was That was a
I actually
stretch.
met a woman who wants to be the first NFL or female NFL.
But
Ooh, tell us more.
How about the kicker for Vanguard?
I don't
Vanderbilt.
remember her name. I follow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't remember her name. I follow her on Instagram, but like I wouldn't even know what to search. This was a couple months ago. I was on a walk because California's basically been completely shut down.
Oh, I know.
So all there was. Yeah. Oh, I keep forgetting that
Yep.
you're in California. So the only thing to do was go on walks.
And golf.
So,
I've been doing a lot of golfing, but yes.
And wait in lines in
Yeah,
traffic.
I don't-
Golf never shut down. Even in the worst of it, golf stayed
Yeah.
open. But yeah.
Yeah. But anywho, so my friend and I are on a walk at the beach, and this lady and her daughter comes up to us and asked us a question because they were in town, I believe from Wisconsin, because the mom was getting brain surgery or something insane. And I was just talking to them because they were asking me, where should we go? What should we check out? What are some restaurants? And somehow the conversation came up where, the daughter was in high school. She plays football. She's on the team. She's a starter, and she wants to eventually become the first female NFL player.
That's
wonder-
awesome.
So she becomes famous. Yeah, so I was like, I want to
Get her autograph now.
What if this actually
Yeah.
works out. Yeah.
When you're a
wonder
rookie,
about
give me,
that, though, you wonder, like, so, like, obviously the kickers, right? That's probably the easiest entry point for women into the NFL. Like, if that ever does become a thing, and probably will with time, right? Kicker is the obvious entry point.
I would like to see a women's skill player. I mean, you've seen some of these women sprinters. The women can have a ton of speed. You get
for
somebody like a
sure.
playmaker. That's what I want to see.
For sure, but what I'm saying is that you'd wonder, like, how the game would have to change, or if it would, right? Like, you think about it. So if you had a woman skill player, wide receiver, right? Would you just play the game like normally? Would there be different equipment? Like, I mean, obviously, like, people would treat her differently. It'd just be kind of.
But that's the problem. That it shouldn't be that way. I know it is, but it shouldn't be that way. The whole point of equality is equality across the board. And
not
I think
arguing
that women would want that. What?
For me, I go back and forth because I don't know the science. So I don't know, how the body reacts. I don't know. Could she literally be tackled by a JJ Watt
and live
and not have all of her bones break?
Well,
I don't know. I'm not saying that she doesn't
strength
have the
conditioning
skill.
is strength conditioning. A woman can build up her
Okay.
strength. You see women bodybuilders. I mean, it's this. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yes,
but the
they're
other
going
question is,
against
would
what
JJ
Tom-
Watt
again,
ever
I'm
hit a
just saying,
woman like
I'm
that?
not against it.
You know what I mean? Like, no.
And
But any
I think
woman.
if they get
I
allowed,
want to see it. Look, I hope I didn't come across wrong. I want to see it. Do I think they can reach the level of skill necessary? Yes. I'm just saying I don't know the science when it comes to like how a body reacts, how it.
It doesn't
feels.
matter if you're a man or
I
a
don't know.
woman.
Like, if JJ Watt was
That's
to
what I'm
tackle
saying.
me.
You die just as I would.
Neal,
I would
Neal,
die.
did you have a?
I was just gonna say to Will's point, if they're allowed, if they would hit a woman, if they're being allowed to be on the field, I don't think the players care. Like, they're in that mindset anyways that I'm gonna take somebody's head off.
And
Yeah,
I think
but
if a woman
not
if a woman got to that point, they're not going to want special treatment.
No, for
If
sure.
they fought their way up and earned their way on an NFL team, they're going to want to be treated just like every other
For
man
sure.
that's on that
I'm
roster.
not arguing that. But what you notice it anyway, like, and I don't want to say his name because Brian will get triggered. The old quarterbacks in the NFL, right? They don't get hit like some of them do. Like Cam Newton got wrecked. Dude, he got like hit so hard.
Cam Newton runs into contact.
Fair enough.
But yeah.
But also, don't you think that's kind of a ref problem too?
Sure,
I mean, they do get treated differently than the legends.
Yeah, but
and
so
versus,
here's the thing,
non.
and I am not saying that women should or would or want or would get.
Yeah. I just want to clarify. Nobody. I'm like scared that people heard my words and misconstrued them, and I'm scared they're gonna do that for you. We all want it to happen. We're just bringing up points that we want to talk.
And I'm just talking about like
discussion is
bias, right? Like just whether it's conscious or not, a woman would get flagged differently. I think for a while, like the first pioneers,
You're probably right. Yeah.
Would I think it would be a little bit.
But that's kind of unfortunately the beast of it. Like that's why somebody's gonna have to do it if it's gonna
Somebody's
happen.
gonna have to normalize it.
You know what I think this might actually happen is when or if they start changing the game for things like CTE right, and making it a little more friendly to people in general, it will lower the barrier for women to be able to play in the NFL.
Well, and I just had a point and I forgot. I know what I was gonna say, and I don't think it's so yes, I do think things are gonna need to change. There with anything in time. I mean, think of any social movement. Things are always changing.
It's not overnight. It's not a one. Yeah.
But it's not on. I don't want to call her the victim, but like it's not on the marginalized person to be responsible for those changes. Everybody else needs to get on the time.
Completely agree.
So I would hate for that to be like the focus to be on her and like how she's forcing all these changes and it be looked upon negatively, because it would be on everyone else to get comfortable with it. She's not the one causing problems. You're not reacting to it.
I love that. I actually want to end there. We're going to end this one shorter because the last one went a little bit long, and I just love that as a final point.
It's a good discussion.
It is a good discussion.
But
it is a good discussion.
What it would do, though. I mean, like, look at the.
I
know,
Will's like, it's good discussion. I'm going to keep talking now.
I want to talk about the female kicker for Vanderbilt, who kicked a squid kick.
Sarah Fuller.
Is a hero.
She kicked an extra point too. She scored. That was the thing, is she scored in a game. She kicked an extra point.
Breathe. I'm just saying, like, imagine what that would do for women. Right?
I'm a big believer in women's rights. So just so you know, I might get triggered on this.
He is.
What would you get? I said it's amazing for women. The fact that, like, the part that we had in the show notes was women referees, right? Pioneers, coaches in the NFL. You know, I mean, it's certainly it's moving. You know, it's moving in a good direction.
I think the interesting thing is, and this, like I said, I'm a big basketball NBA guy. This happened earlier this year. Is Becky Hammon was the first woman to coach an NBA game when Greg Popovich got called out or got thrown out of the game in the Spurs. And her reaction, you know, being interviewed after the game was like, yes, this is awesome that I'm part of history, but there's also a little bit of, hey, why hasn't this happened already?
Well,
like, this should have been already.
And when Joe Biden doesn't finish his 4-year term, Kamala Harris will be the first female president.
The question is, like, it should happen in the NBA before it happens in the NFL. Like, so that's
about
integrated.
Players?
Yeah. So
I think it might happen in the NBA before, because there's some WNBA players like a Diana Taurasi, you know, these point guards that I think legends that are just good enough to be able to run an NBA offense. I think they're close.
Lindsay,
and
I want to end on Lindsay.
And
Lindsay's raising her hand.
Okay. Well, it goes along. I don't want this to come off. Okay, it's wrong. So Kobe Bryant and Gigi dying, that was devastating for obvious reasons. Devastating for the family. You know, she was young. But what also broke my heart on top of it is she would have been in the WNBA. And Kobe would have been the biggest cheerleader. He was already a pretty big cheerleader for the WNBA, but he would have, like, the two of them would have been able to bring so much attention to it and would have gotten so much more focus, and it would have been such an amazing first step to, you know, fairness in female sports and I don't want to say awareness, but like attention. I can't think of what the right word is, but like that again. That is not the only reason I was sad. I want to make that very clear. It was a devastating
It's a worthwhile
situation,
point, though. Yeah.
But it really, like, that really, really broke my heart, because that would have been such a huge, like, movement just for female professional sports in general.
Just having a show right now where we're all discussing the logistics of it means that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
We're moving in the right direction. Could it move faster? Sure. Are there still issues? Tons. Way too many that will hold women back. But it's moving in the right direction. I'm confident that it'll happen. I would love to see it happen, sooner rather than later. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Neal Thrailkill, thank you so much. Make sure to check out his podcast, Two Tight Ends. Lindsay Bebout, thank you so much.
Wait, Neal, how can I follow you on social media?
Oh, yeah, do your tags. There you go. Shameless plug time.
No problem. So my podcast is at the number two tight ends.
I'm subscribing right now.
Thank you. On Instagram, Facebook, what's the other one? Twitter. And then my personal one is at the Thrailkill 5 on Instagram.
Why are you,
the number 5.
How many, there's 4 other ones?
5 is my favorite number. There's only one other one.
And they've been inactive since
2016.
Thrill killed the first 4. Now we got number 5.
It was thrilling.
Lindsay, co-host of the Broncos Brawl podcast. Go ahead and plug your show and your social media.
Yeah. Okay, I just subscribed, Neal. So.
Oh, thank you.
She wastes no time.
We're also Facebook friends now.
No, I don't. I'll have to add you. Yeah, so I'm on the Broncos Brawl podcast. You can find it in any podcast store. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at Lindsay, Lindsay, Bebout, which is spelled Beebout. So it's not spelled like he who shall not be named. And you can also, there's been so much confusion with our social media. So basically on some of them we're at Broncos Brawl and some of them we're at Broncos Brawl podcast. So just try one, and if it doesn't pop up,
Just
try
Google
the other.
Broncos Brawl. It'll come up somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and also with our show, especially if you're a Broncos fan, like we want to interact with you. We want to be your friend. Just don't send us creepy stuff. But like, don't be a stranger. We if you don't like our picks, tell us.
And I like
we love that.
the two tight ends puts up some cool clips on Instagram. They'll do the little 15-second clips.
I'll follow.
Yeah,
that
I
now,
started
too.
posting
Yeah.
clips after watching what you guys are doing there. So
Hey,
make sure to
there you
check
go.
out two tight ends. Make sure to check out Broncos Brawl.
Oh, and I want to say, Brian, thank you. If you guys are starting a podcast or you want to get feedback, Brian is such an amazing tool.
Thank
yeah,
you.
he's a huge, he is a huge tool.
Resources. He has been very helpful with me. He's like, I will just send him message after message. I'm like, why are you responding to all of these? You don't know
Oh my
me.
God, you don't
That's
know.
all.
Listen,
Nice
I was
of
in
you.
college with this guy forever. Like to a fault. That's a Brianism.
I like to help people. I can't help.
Well, Lindsay,
And you have-
that
Go ahead.
I was just
Christina.
gonna say he did the exact same thing for me. I was asking him questions and stuff, and he was responding no problem. So thank you, Brian, for having me on. And
Thank you guys. And thanks for the nice little personal plug. That's cool. Definitely.
And Will, I enjoyed meeting you.
Yeah, whatever.
This will not be the last time we have either of you on, at the very least, to see Lindsay versus Will round 2. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure to tell all your friends about the Pigskin Party podcast. That's how we grow this Pigskin Party. Subscribe, leave us some reviews. We're still getting nothing but 5-star reviews on iTunes somehow. Somehow Will hasn't driven away our listener base. Check us out on Patreon and Discord, link in the show description. Official PP Pod on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and we'll see you next week on the PPP.
Yes.
Tebow.